Дым от сигарет кружится, как тези споры, тонкий английский лед, под ним кипящее море. Рюмка на полпальца, и где-то усталая печень, но он опять рвется в зал, как будто последняя встреча. Жесткое вино разума обжигает, но будет спящих каждое слово, как выстрел в зал, и не осталось священных щелей, где бы он тихо промолчал. Где-то в Багдаде жара тонет в сарказме и прозе. Он пишет, как режет ножом по мифам на белой бумаге. В студиях, в старых барах, в маленьких залах кампусов он ставит под роспись богов и веру сдает под авансом. Жесткое вино разума обжигает, но будет спящих каждое слово, как выстрел в зал, и не осталось священных щелей, где бы он тихо промолчал. Тело слабеет, голос сипит, но шутка выходит точнее. Он поднимает стакан и говорит: поверим, кого соберет скорее. Публика держит дыхание, он не дает ей надежд, только упрямая да к сомнению и крови. И следуй смерть. Жесткое вино разума обжигает, но будет спящий каждое слово, как выстрел в зал, и не осталось священных щелей, где бы он тихо промолчал.
This land was made for you and me. That includes our poor and hungry. If you want to join the fight, come stand with us on the right side of history. Divided we stand, united we fall. In the belly of the beast, fighting fascists, the tyrants.
All right. Good evening, everybody. This is Divided We Stand. Hope everybody can hear me tonight. We are on Facebook. If you're unfamiliar with our Facebook group page, we please ask that you stop on by and become a member of our page. We are not a monetized page, which means we're not looking for any money from you. That's not what we're about. David and I are too old to worry about making money. The second thing is that we do have a YouTube channel, and we are broadcasting from YouTube tonight. Appropriately so. It is entitled Divided We Stand. It is also not monetized, which not only means we're not looking for any money from you, but it means that you don't have to worry about any type of ads. So you kind of have premium, you know what I mean, right off the start. So we're kind of proud of that. We're not that kind of people. I mean, my motto has always been, don't trust anybody with a suit. By the way, Dave can't make it tonight. He was on a cruise. Again, I think he goes on 3 or 4 cruises a year, and tonight he's out and about in Alabama, but he'll be back tomorrow. So we'll probably be on tomorrow night, maybe around 8, same time, same place and such. But I thought I'd say a few things about the obvious tonight. And I want to preface it by mentioning something that happened today while I was talking with my Russian counterparts. And they, of course, are not oblivious to what's going on. And I'm speaking to some very, very intelligent people over there. And in this case, somebody who is a supporter of Putin, but she's a wonderful person, and she's a professor. Misguided, in my opinion. But today I asked her a question. First time I've ever asked her a question that was a deep question. Well, somewhat deep. And she couldn't answer it. And this will apply to what's going on tonight. So she's always cocksure about, Putin and why Russia needs to be in Ukraine and all the rest. It's just something you and I would not agree with, but that's her state of tune, and that's what she believes in. And she makes a point. I'm not saying it's convincing, but given that she's grown up in a society that's been inundated with propaganda, you can understand why she believes what she believes. And again, she does a fine job defending herself. But I said something very, very simple today in my question. I said, Irina, her name is Irina. I said, how is it that Russia and, for what matters, the former Soviet Union, with all their brilliance, all the educated people, with all the resources that you talk about, and all the Russian greatness that you talk about, why is it that your economy is no greater than that of France? And never has been much more than that. And she was stuck. Now, I wasn't really trying to pin her down. I think it's at the point, and she could not answer that. It was the first time where we had a deep question that she could not answer. It's not like I was asking her some trivial pursuit question. It was a serious political question and an economic question. And she actually studied mathematics. She's a professor of mathematics and of language. And she couldn't answer it. Didn't even try to avoid it. She says, I just don't know. And she's probably 76, so she should know. Now, of course, I have an answer, and I told her that, with a society where you have incredible mediocrity, there has to be a reason within the system that you have mediocrity, and that is probably that all the talented people just gave up and couldn't get ahead. Either they left or they stayed within the system and said, the hell with it, I'm not gonna push to move up if I can't move up. And that's essentially the answer. And that's something that she can't agree with. And I think we're at the point now there that people, I think everybody does know there. I think they kind of know the truth. And the truth is you have to accept the lie. And they have to see how you react to the lie, which is going to lead into what I'm going to talk about, what happened today in Iran. Now, I'm not an expert at anything, and even though Dave will say that I'm the Russian expert, maybe in relation to today because I speak the language and I've been there many times, but I'm not an expert at anything. I am who I am, and I don't want to be called an expert of anything. But today I felt like Irina. I felt as though I have no answers. I don't even really want to speculate. I just have questions that can't be answered. The first thing that came to my mind today was, okay, let's go outside the box a little bit and say, well, where is China going to get its oil now? Because they used to get it from Venezuela and they used to get it from Iran. And, obviously that's going to make it difficult for them. And, how does China react to this? What happens to the price of oil? Do they block the Strait of Hormuz? And I'm so exhausted from Trump because just like any stupid person, ignorance is violence, and it's going to lead to bad. Whatever a stupid person does, it's going to lead to something bad, and it's going to hurt at some point. And with Trump, anything that he does it's just going to give us the feeling that it's going to go nowhere. Now, we can probably all agree that the guy's has been born with a shamrock up his ass. I mean, even the attack itself, he's kind of lucky because it was almost the perfect time to do it because they were still negotiating. So I'm sure that the Iranians had no idea that, that he was going to, or the U.S. military was going to bomb today, especially when, they're all outside and they're still talking because they think that, they're going to have this pause until they eventually finish negotiations. But they don't. The military hits them hard today, and essentially it's probably a military success for one day. I mean, it really surprised the Iranians. So you're going to have a lot of dead clerics. And I have no problem with that. I mean, I'm very anti-religion, and, I still have wounds from the 444 days from Iran for those religious nuts over there. So there's no love lost for anybody who, any cleric or religious nut who died today. I couldn't give a shit, to be honest with you. But the reality is, as I said, I am just an average person. I don't know what's going to be. But I do know this. It's always a mess in the Middle East. There's 1,000 different opinions about what should be done or could be done or how the history is looked upon. And while for the first day, I would imagine you could call it a success because just for the fact that you were able to nail so many individuals, assuming that they got them. And I kind of think they did probably kill the leader because, again, I think they caught them by surprise. They were still negotiating, and during negotiations, they just clap them, and that's that. But it's not that right now because it's always the question about what happens after, what happens to the price of oil. Well, Trump's got friends, so he's probably, again, I'm speculating here. Don't take my word. It's, he knows that the Sunnis and the Saudi Arabians who are Sunnis, they're going to pump more oil if there's a problem in the Strait of Hormuz. And quite frankly, the U.S. military is at the Strait of Hormuz, so I don't even know if they could really, I'm talking about the Iranians, I don't know if they could even mine the strait right now. And I don't want them to do it, but anyway, the whole point is that this is an air campaign, and we know that Trump was lying about the fact that he said that they knocked out their nuclear capabilities, which is, I think, was complete bullshit. And I think that's one of the reasons they went back. And I think this does have a lot to do with a lot of other things. And who the hell knows with the Epstein thing? And Trump's he's just a lunatic. Why even try to speculate? There's just so many reasons why he would have done this. And again, he's going to have support from the Republican Party. He's going to have some conservative Democrats who are going to support him. Again, I'm sure all of you have no love lost for Iran. And maybe some Iranians are going to appreciate what's happening, and maybe they'll take over. But I don't know that that's going to happen. Who's to say that the more liberal part of the Iranian society is going to take over? Because you know that if Trump had his way, he'd want to, impose some type of leadership that relates to the Shah's son, and then here we go back to square one. And my point is this, everybody, and I don't expect to have a long trip. I'd be glad to talk to you about this and all, but I think because Trump is poison, he's toxic, and again, because he's ignorant. I don't know where we go with this, and all, you figure most of the experts who are more liberal in our government, they've already left. People in the FBI, the CIA, we don't know how many people actually stayed. Whatever it is, they're losing good people in intelligence. And now that we have this situation here, who's going to fuck up next? It's like saying, okay, you can have all Republicans, MAGAs, working at the hospital, but you don't have a doctor there. You don't want to have heart surgery. You don't have me doing your heart surgery. I can only have a screwdriver and a power saw or something like that. It's not going to work. So this whole thing sickens me, because I don't think there's going to be a regional war. Because I know that, in my opinion, there won't be a world war, because I don't think Russia has any skin in the game right now. They're too bogged down in Ukraine. They can talk their shit. I just read what the Ministry of Defense said earlier today. And even the Chinese, as much as I said, they have to have those constant resources of oil there, and they've been losing a couple. I don't think they are going to go all the way to defend Iran. Who's going to defend Iran? There's nobody there. So in that sense, Trump, again, he's got the shamrock of his ass, and that's probably why he did it. I don't know. He saw the advantages that, again, Russia and China are not going to come to their aid. We're talking about Iran. So my only fear with what's happening with Trump is I don't want him to be a conquering hero. And this is the kind of thing that you think about over years. But, between now and November, if they can have this aura of, and, the propaganda is going to be out that they're winning and this is going to be a success. There's so many things we have to take care of. The vote in November and the cheating that's going to go on within the Republican Party, because he knows that the tide is against him right now. But that doesn't mean anything if your vote doesn't count. And again, maybe it's because I've been in Russia a lot. Your vote doesn't count. If look, most people support Putin. But do 95% Putin? No. Maybe top 75 or 80. The rest just kind of lay low. But how do you get a vote where 95% vote for one person? And this is what bothers me. So I'm sure, and you can post what you want as far as why you think he did this. It was definitely in Trump's interest to do it, whether it was to obfuscate what's going on with Epstein, or just to get a bump, in his ratings. Again, it was, I think, as much as Iran's a fairly strong country, you have 91 million people and a strong military, not as strong as ours or anything like that, but they were easy pickings today. And I don't see how Iran's going to be able to. They can do some guerrilla warfare, and I'm sure some people are going to pay the price. But I don't know. The guy I don't want to say he wins. He gets away with his shit. And it doesn't seem like there's anything we can do, because there are only a couple of Republicans who are going against him. And you got one Democrat, Fetterman, who's rah-rah behind Trump now, more or less. Maybe this is what Carter should have done back in 1979. Maybe we never would have had the Republican Party as it is today if it wasn't for Carter's weakness, or The fact they couldn't pull off the rescue. I don't know. All I'm saying is I just don't know. I don't have any idea how this thing's going to turn out. It's a big question mark. Dave and I are going to look at it tomorrow. I did talk with Dave briefly today, and I think he generally sees this as a question mark. But he, like I, agree that Trump is a lunatic. And, there is an old saying, I forget how it goes, but it basically says that luck kind of helps the bold. And if there's anything Trump is that he's bold with his whatever he does. And it's pretty shitty. But in this country, sometimes that just seems to work. Just be bold. And it's pretty sad. Because I'm a senior citizen now. And I'm tired. I'm really tired of this shit. And I just got a message from Joey. He asked me if I was starting to think Fetterman's going to become a Republican. Joe, I don't think it really matters, quite frankly, whether Fetterman changes party or he doesn't. He certainly could. I think it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter. Just as long as he's voting a certain way, it won't matter. Because in the end, that's what really matters, how that senator votes. I mean, Susan Collins can keep talking shit and acting like she's a liberal or progressive Republican or something. Is there such a thing? But she keeps voting with Trump. The Supreme Court generally keeps helping Trump. And even when they go against him, they don't seem to say much more. So, I suppose you could say it's kind of like money. Money is what money does, Joe. And what you do is really what your party is. So if you keep defending this lunatic, then you are what you is, as Frank Zappa used to say. And it's. I don't mind. Fetterman can have his own opinion. He can make his decisions. I mean, you can't force a senator to vote one way or another simply because of their party, if they think it's right. My problem with Fetterman right now is it seems like most of the decisions he's making are in support of Trump, where he was definitely against him at one time. And now I am kind of worried. And I have good reason to be, because I'm in a district, second district in New Jersey, where we have Jeff Van Drew, and he was a Democrat. He got my vote long ago when he first won, because the other guy was even worse. But Van Drew was a turncoat, and that would, if I had known, that would have been one situation where I wouldn't have voted for either. And Fred, my dog's starting to, Freddie, get over here, boy. I have to excuse myself for a second because he starts chewing on stuff and I don't want to choke to death. He still Fred, come here. Come here. Oh, God. I'm going to show you Freddie here for a second because he's a wonderful, sweet dog. But he gets bored. He starts chewing things, and that means stones and all other stuff that could go down his throat. So let me see if I can bring the star of the show in tonight. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Get away. Come here. Where are you? What? Come here, you. Stop this stuff. I don't know if he's having sinus problems or what, but you just never know with him. He's just picking shit up off the floor. This is my guy. I guess this is the guy that keeps my blood pressure lower. You okay? Oi. I hate seeing a dog that's in distress, but he's such a, my neighbor calls him Toto because she doesn't really know his name. It's just as well because he doesn't even know his own. It's Freddie, but he just knows the word no. I think that's it. And even then, sometimes he doesn't. But he's such a sweet dog. And it's what, around 8:30. He starts. Luckily, he starts to get tired now. He takes a sedative because he's just off the charts. Don't forget he was a rescue from West Virginia, and he was abused and neglected and all that kind of stuff. I mean, how could you abuse something like this? Just any dog, for that matter. But anyway, this dog's going to save me, folks. As much as I've saved him, he's going to save me, because I tell you, the world is too much right now. So I'm going to just check some of the comments here, because I can't stay on really too long tonight, and I think it'd be best, that we do the show tomorrow night, and I will. Antigaya, the absolute uncertainty regarding these matters is lost on him, and that scares the shit out of me. And I agree with you. I mean, that's essentially, what I believe. Joey, how about Bill Clinton testifying? Yeah, and they didn't let Clinton testify in public. It's a sham, and what they did to Hillary Clinton was complete bullshit. I mean, it really was. Talking about Pizzagate, and I mean, obviously they know it's bullshit, but they just want to upset her, and they're like little children. I know you are, but what am I? That kind of just complete horseshit. I'm setting up the morning. Okay, Fred, I'm gonna have to let the dog down. He seems to be choking. You choking here, boy? Go back. Lay down. But if he does get worse, I'm gonna have to just shut down real quick. By the way, Sandy, yeah, I want to. I should mention the channel. I don't have many subscribers. We only have 450 subscribers on Divided We Stand. But Sandy has a new channel called The Political Coffee House, which I just subscribed to about an hour or two ago. Congratulations, Sandy. I want to just say I think that was a smart move by you. You mentioned that some of the folks from the Environmental Coffee House don't like the politics. And I think a lot of people in the environmental movement are very anti-political. So they get a little bit nervous when we talk politics and things like that. Fred, you gonna be okay? And but as you know, because I was heavily involved in the environmental issues back in the 1970s when I was 13, I used to get involved in recycling and things like that. It's unavoidable. You know what I mean? And politically, things have to be solved. And I remember when I was studying political science a bit in college, this gentleman from Indonesia had mentioned, you can talk about science, you can talk about this or that, all you want, but what happens in Washington does matter for the rest of the topics. And Sandy, I think it was a smart move because, as Dave and I say, nothing gets done until you solve these things politically. And I'm talking about the environment. I can turn my light off, or I can turn this light off, and I can save a bit, and I'll do those kind of things. But we have to all do it as a whole, and you can only do it when the government kind of imposes a little bit of pressure on all of this, and that's not happening. It's like anti-pressure. If any pressure, it's against the environment. So politics are really important. I think there's a certain naivete within, not you, Sandy, never you with this, and I mean that seriously. There's a certain naivete within the environmental movement as a general statement, because when you have this idea that everybody's the enemy in terms of politics, then you're really screwed. Because again, you have to look at the average person who's just trying to survive, and they don't know one shit to another about carbon or methane or whatever. You have to have somebody looking over. You have to have a God, so to speak. And I don't mean a spiritual God. I mean, a God is somebody or some institution that can actually do something that's more powerful than that we can do as an individual. And that's why I think there has to be some political movement that can get some momentum, and then some of these things will be taken care of. And that's not happening right now. So I think that what you're doing is going to be a big help in the long run. It really will, because there's a certain pragmatism, and that pragmatism will lead to actual movement, and good things will happen. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to get people involved because some people are just so apolitical. And I'm sure you have a few people who are Trumpers too that are. I mean, I've seen a few people who say they believe in climate change and they want to do something about it, but they're Trumpers too. Not many, but they're out there. Anthony, good to see you from Dallas. Been watching the Chicago protests. Now I'm back with you guys. Well, thank you. And good to see Kim, Joey, Anti-Guy, of course. Hillary made them look like fools. That's why. Yeah, I'm sure she did. It wouldn't take much, too, right? Anti-Guy, definitely. You're welcome, Sandy. I mean, you deserve it. And you know what? Like I said, I think it was a really good move by you. Not just because I have a political channel. I think politics is really where it's at right now. But you certainly have had a voice in the environmental movement, on the internet. You really have. And you do it well. And I mean that. You do it well. But you do have a wonderful political voice too, and you care about the little guy in the country. You care about fairness, and that's all you need right now. But you do understand politics, and I think you saw it, or even some people within your page didn't really see the. I mean, I know I'm not going to mention names, but I know a few people who said, "Well, let's just trash it all and let's just vote for Trump to bring the system down." No, you don't do that. You don't spite your entire body. Because you don't like the way your nose looks like. So there are tragic mistakes in that type of thinking. And you're not one of them. I know you're not. Things have to be done. Yeah, and like Kim says here, politics, environment, all tied together. That's right. Everything matters. That's when I teach. It's the subject, but it's also my philosophy of teaching. And it's my emotions. We're more than one thing. I mean, even our atoms, change over every decade or whatever they say. So nothing's ever the same. You have to come about it from so many different angles. Okay. Sandy said, I had some right wingers, but they got mad when I started calling them orange turd. Haha. Well, yeah, though their butt hurt. And yeah, that's tough. I have a few friends who are Trumpers who are left, with whom I speak. My relatives who are Trumpers, I do not speak with them. I'm on their shit list, and they're on my shit list. And I never, and I mean this seriously, I never needed to have a lot of friends, which is why I kind of like the whole thing with the internet. I like the distance sometimes. Nothing against you guys. You guys are great. But we live so far away. But, if I'm just around my wife or my dog, just that small coterie around me, I'm okay. Because for me, it's almost like a Bukowski thing. People were a repetitious danger. The more people I hung out with, the worse it got. And people could say the same thing about me too. I mean, it's just the geography of human beings, and you just don't know. It's where you go. So like you go at the wrong place on a Saturday night. There's somebody might piss on your car or something like that. You just don't know what's going to happen, and there is safety in having like your little castle. On the other hand, you still have to be involved with people to get things done, and for what it's worth, this is what I do right now. I mean, I go to protests. I have to really watch now. But everything's moving. That reminds me, too, the thing that Dave and I were talking about with today. I was outside at the time. I was actually speaking of my watch like Dick Tracy. Ironically enough, we were talking about it because of how things are moving so quickly. It's so hard for me to catch up, especially as a person who's retiring. Like Dave was saying, you got to start winding now with your teaching. You got 4 months left. And you got to really quickly transition into your new life. And I said, yeah, I understand that, Dave. I'm a senior citizen now. But I have a lot of things to accomplish. But I'm feeling as though, and I don't know if this is a shared experience, so you'll have to tell me. I feel like I can't, and I'm very good at catching up with things. I mean, I'm a pretty good multitasker. just by my nature. I'm frenetic in a certain way, but I can't keep up with all this. And I know that it's unsustainable for me to keep up with. I've got to do my plans. I've got to do this. The retiring, as it turns out, is becoming a great thing for me, because I know that in 4 months I'm going to have a little more focus. I won't, have that 10 hours a day where I'm just focusing on my job. No, it's this, because it's this important right now. And politics are the game right now. It's the way this world works, and it's seriously. Now, Dave may have it about himself, but for me, I don't even like politics. You would think that I do like politics because I'm involved in it so much. No, it's because I know it's the mover of things, and there's just so much propaganda, and there's so much social media, and there's such great pressure, propagandistic pressure, that I don't know that any of us can keep up with this kind of shit. I mean, it's so exhausting, and I think that's why a person like Trump flourishes, because he's demented. He's so fractional. He it's as if Trump is there's this rare disease where somebody just, they can't remember anything. So they just know who they are, and they just operate in the moment. It's much like there was the movie with Robert Mitchum, not the Night of the Living Dead, not the Stalker, of the Undead. Maybe somebody out there can tell me. It's called Night of the, whatever it is. But I remember that scene where there's a young kid and he's being stalked by this, the guy that was being portrayed by Robert Mitchum. And he says, doesn't this guy ever sleep? He just, he just keeps on going, this guy. He's like the Energizer Bunny, but he's a bad dude. And that seems to be Trump, and that's probably why he's so effective, because everything's so frenetic, and he's frenetic. There you go, Kim. I'm not alone, I guess. It's yeah. She says it's so much for the brain, and yeah, Sandy, it's exhausting, and we don't really want to give up. We can't. We're forced to be thrown to the front, and it was Night of the Hunter, I think. That was what it just. My mind's frenetic, and it just comes up. Night of the Hunter, I believe that was it, with Robert Mitchum. If you get to see it, it's pretty dark, you know what I mean? And I think they had the right guy to portray the role. And I don't want to get into Hollywood right now, but it's a good metaphor for Trump. That's how I feel we are confronting Robert Mitchum in the Night of the Hunter, and that poor kid who says, doesn't he ever sleep? Doesn't he ever sleep? Oh, so Anthony, guys, so you know about the film. I haven't seen it in a long. In fact, it made me so uneasy watching it. It's a film noir. I guess it was made maybe in the early '60s or late. You'll have to check the internet on that, folks. I don't know, but it's very, very hard to watch, and yeah, it tires you. But this is the thing. This is tiring us, and we're all exhausted, and we can only do so much. And the main thing is obviously November, but I think that's where it's going to get even nastier. And he's going to, in my opinion, he's going to thrive on all of the tumult that's going to be going on in November, because we know once those polls, keep dropping. Now they may temporarily go up this week because of Iran, but once we get closer to November, he's going down. That's when you're going to start seeing, the cornered rat, and that's when the cheating, and they will cheat. You all you had to do is just look at. I didn't watch State of the Union, by the way, but I did see a little video of it with Mike Johnson in the background and that son of a bitch Vice President Vance, and they're like, minions are just doing their facial expressions. They're behind him. You just want to. I don't want to say, but there's some sick motherfuckers in this country. You know what I mean? And If there's one thing I could say about Russia, what's going on now, is what Russia has just done for years and years and years and years. And then that's why people just sit at home. And that's when you get a mediocre country. Because people just say, fuck it. I'm going to watch the cartoon. And I'm going to have a cheeseburger. And I'm going to go to bed. Fuck it. I haven't reached that point. First of all, I don't eat meat, but like I began the show with my friend Irina. She couldn't answer my question. And I can't answer any questions. I really can't. Maybe Dave will be able to help. But I think in this case, Dave's going to probably... You'll have to watch tomorrow night. We'll see what happens. Yeah, Joey just texted me. There's a bunch of wackos out there. There used to be Joey and I used to have a barber, a mutual barber, and a old guy used to cut our hair. His name was Sam. Sam could not shut the fuck up. He's just like one of these barbers that just whistling and talking and whistling and talking and whistling and talking. And no matter what you said, just one word, he'd key off on it. He says, yeah, and he'd start talking. And I remember one time my dad said, Sam, you just got to keep quiet. I just cut my hair and keep quiet. That's it. You get a tip, just keep quiet. Because he wouldn't shut the fuck up. And Joey knows this because we both had our hair cut by Sam when I had hair and when Joey had hair. Sam used to always say, yeah, there's a bunch of wackos out there. And that would always be his response to any comment you'd have about the world. Yeah, there's a bunch of wackos out there. Well, Sam the barber was right. But the same people who say they're wackos might be wackos themselves. Oh, thank you, Anthony. So it was 1955. That would have been a rough movie to watch back in the 50s when everything was, hunky-dory in America, so allegedly. To watch something like that just gives you the chills. Yeah, I'll post a couple more comments here, and then I am going to sign off. I have to be careful. This is Sandy. I have to be careful when I chat because I'm sorry, my reading is poor here. I don't know how Environmental Coffee got taken down, but I'm not taking any more chances. Yeah, I forgot all about that. That was shitty. I have no idea what happened to you in that, Sandy. I hope nobody did you in, or I don't know if it was AI. I have no idea. It was sickening. Yeah. So, anyway, folks, let's do this. I'm going to sign off. It's about 8:45 now. Dave and I are going to come on at roughly 8 o'clock. I don't really want to do a show tomorrow night because I do have a lot of work to do. I still have responsibilities at school, which I'm going to do tomorrow earlier and try to get through that. And then we'll meet at 8 o'clock tomorrow night. And then Dave and I will go back and forth with it. I appreciate you guys stopping by, everybody. I really, really do. I want to mention this. I will mention. I don't sell anything for Dividers Stand, but I'm on iTunes right now. A lot of the music that I've been creating. On Spotify and most of the major streaming outlets. But just look up my name, Brian Weinstein, and you'll find me out there. You can just listen to my stuff. And it's a lot of it's, some of it's in Russian, some of it's kind of like disco-ish, and some of it's not. Some of it's jazz, some of it's blues. I like it. I think I'm doing a pretty decent job with it. But you can find me on iTunes or on Spotify or whatever streaming service you use, and check it out. I think you might like it. I listen to my own music now. So, yeah, Sandy says, pretty sure it was AI. A friend went to Google and person in California and put in a complaint to a human. That's how I got it back. Yeah, I do know this, Kim. Dave, you probably saw it because you're on Facebook, Kim. He posted Blue Oyster Cult with that song Godzilla. Yeah, I never was a fan of that song. I think I liked the one tune they had that was the hit, the Reaper, whatever the hell it was. I don't know. I just can't listen to bands 40 years later. You know what I mean? It's like watching Yeah, have you ever seen like the baseball all stars from like the 1950s? And well, they're not even around now, but they used to have like an all star game, and they're all heavy and old, and they can barely throw the ball, and they're no better than I would be at their age. That's how much they've just gone downhill. I just never enjoyed that. It was hard to watch a famous star, and thank you, Kim. I don't like seeing people on the decline, and so while I understand why Dave wants to see these groups, it's kind of nice and nostalgic, and there's nothing wrong with that. And he likes, I know Dave likes eating, but I don't think. I mean, I rarely see anybody who can still hold a note. I mean, I saw Annie Haslam, a wonderful singer from the group Renaissance. I love her voice. Saw her many times. I can't watch it anymore. I can't because her voice can't go beyond a certain range. I think there's only one person that I've seen who is still out there who can still hit his notes. One, there is an exception, and that'd be Gino Vanelli. Whatever he's doing, he's still able to do it. So he's all right. But other than that, I don't think I would want to check somebody out. In fact, even Segovia, the classical guitarist, he played until his 90s. But when he got to his 90s, his playing had really fallen off, and he hit a lot of dingers, and you'd expect that at that age. He didn't have the nervous system that he once had. But I don't like you don't like to see anybody in decline. You don't like seeing your parents. It's really rough, when you see like what they once were. I remember my father. We were in the casino one night. We were in the bathroom, and I was rolling him with the wheelchair into the bathroom, and he looked at his face. He said, "Jesus," he said. He's talking to himself. He said, "Look what happened to me. I'm an old man now." And I get it. You see what happens, and it's all kind of sad, actually. You know what I mean? It really, it's good to keep yourself in working order and some type of shape. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm just saying that the decline is tough to watch, if not yourself, in others, and that's why I don't think I could do a cruise show. I think I'd just rather just talk with him. Indie guy, yeah, Joe Satriani. I saw him at a bar back in, I think, 1984. It was, and I didn't even want to get into that night because it was a really weird night. I had a friend with me who had issues with drugs, and I had to help him. And there was, you know what? I don't even mention what happened. There was some woman came out. It was such a strange night. And so, like, there was this girl who was like on drugs, and my friend who was a former drug addict, and he was kind of spacing out, and they're both like not attached to each other, but they're one's like attached to me, and the other one's talking to me, and I'm trying to watch Joe Satriani play. I guess he was at the time. I think maybe he put out Surfing with the Alien or something like that. And I really wanted to get into it because I was a guitarist. I mean, I really like Holsworth, but Satriani is really, really good. I mean, you know that, Anthony. If you listen to Satriani, you know how talented he is. But I actually had to leave because I had two things going at once, and I really wanted to help my friend. And we left after like 3. No, it wasn't him, Joe. That was a different person, but it was like him. But he had some real problems, and he was a real nice guy, but he had some very, very deep psychological problems, and that night didn't help. And then somebody else was on a drug trip or some drug frenzy or something, and I wasn't going to take advantage of that. That's for sure. I'm not that type of person. But it was a crazy night, and it started the moment Joe Satriani started playing, and I may have heard like 12 notes, even though there were a few songs, and that was it. And I had to walk out, not because of Joe. Joe was great, but you just, like, say, shit happens. And that's what happened to guys. So, but it's interesting you brought him up. Yeah, blew my eardrums, yeah. The only time I almost blew my eardrums was I saw Frank Marino in a bar. Frank Marino is from Canada, from Montreal, I think. But he was in Philly one night, and it was later in his career. And God, it was like right up in the front. Some dude was nuts next to me, and it was just crazy. It was just a crazy night, and I still think my ears are ringing from that. It was a bad decision to. It was cool to be right in front where Frank was playing, because Frank was a favorite of mine. We rock guitars back in the day, and good guy. But he almost killed my ears. I still think I'm suffering from that. So, yeah, 2 nights where I saw 2 great guitarists and I couldn't appreciate it. It was Frank Marino, Mahogany Rush, and definitely Joe Satriani. I mean, I was right there, and if I heard 2 songs into Gaia, that would have been a lot that night. And I was there to watch him for 2 or 3 hours, and yeah. So, all right, folks, I'm going to bug on out. We'll see you tomorrow night. And just one last comment I want to mention, that hockey game, I was so proud of them when they won, and then 30 minutes later, the taste in my mouth after what Kash Patel did and the players did, it was just like, I remember Muhammad Ali took his gold medal, he threw it in the Ohio River. He was so pissed about racism and all, so it's such a strange feeling to be so proud of that medal. And then I didn't win any medal, but I'm just saying the fact that they won it against such a great team, and then the bullshit. You're going to act like, you figured you want to be magnanimous, and then they weren't. And then they had Kash Patel doing, his bullshit. Why is he in the locker room? Kind of wanted Canada to win just to avoid that shit. If I had known that was going to happen, I would have rooted for the other side. Because I never would have done that in normal circumstances. I like American hockey, you know what I mean? I love the Canadians, but I still want my country to win. But don't be an asshole, be magnanimous, more magnanimous. But they couldn't be. They had to be assholes. What can you say? A lot of assholes out there, right? All right, we'll sign off with some nice music. До свидания. Спокойной ночи.